Shall we try that a little bit with an African talking drum or two? Yes. Is what I was hearing. I don't know what you're planning, but the whole thing can be a little more, maybe like a tick slower, but it should feel like it's in one. This thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
More than not like that, but just overall. This will help. Yeah, let's start with some of that. Although you're giving the benediction, correct?
I know.
All right.
So I'll just stop and let it ring out. I'm doing benediction from the lectern.
Okay.
Hello.
Or I meant to say you're giving the sermon, but I'd love for it to start with that.
Just give me some.
I'll trinkle a little, big a little bit.
Reflection question. I'll walk over here.
Okay. I'll tease this a little bit, but it's going to be out of time. I'd rather that be the thing that gets us done. Yeah. So we'll let the talking drum come in a little bit, the djembe that is, and then you'll hear this twice. Hold on. And listen more often to things and to beings. Listen more often to things and to beings. Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the mourning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Sorry, have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath and the voice of voices heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Yeah.
I love that we skip the same line. Right.
This is, I mean, that's the feel of the song.
The second one. It's not.
Effective on go.
Thank you.
As we say in the Ozarks.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I just remind myself perfection is not the goal.
Leadership 101.
On the next line, the last verse, they are with us in this crowd. Or directly references the congregation.
Yes.
Talking about the dead. It seems like a review. Six every single time. I want us to just stare directly at the crowd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Gilch. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm filling in for Marcus the next couple weeks, so I cut my hair like his so you'd feel more at home. Thank you. A couple things before we start. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Montclair. We're so glad you're here, those of you here in person and those of you here joining us streaming online. If you are here in person, please put your cell phones on silent, or better yet, turn them off, and make sure they are off the UUCM Wi-Fi so it doesn't harsh the vibe of those following online. We ask our COVID guidelines prescribe that there is no congregational singing, but that instead you hum along with our hymn leaders, who I will introduce here. This week are Charles Loflin and Laurice Grae Hauck. Please join us in humming on our meditation on breathing, number 1009.
Breathe
It is so good to gather with the only 12 people in New Jersey that don't have COVID-19. So glad to see you are all well. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever age, ability, history, identity, gender, or sexual orientation, know that you are welcome to bring your full self here. Here in person, here virtually, we gather together. I'm Rev Anya Sandler Michael. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Grounded in faith, we come together to nurture the soul, inspire hope, and bring into being a more just and loving world. Yeah? Okay. Joining us to offer pastoral support for our in-person service from our pastoral care team is Zilka Springoran. Zilka is in the back wearing a yellow stole. If you are wondering why would you speak to someone on the pastoral care team, it's because they are incredible listeners and they have been trained to do this work, to listen deeply and to be present to you, whatever is going on in your spirit, heart, and mind. Our COVID protocols include social distancing and that we be masked and possibly vaxxed. And as possible vaxxed, we have restricted congregational singing and we are humming along while our hymn leaders sing. We welcome and encourage families to attend, so we have special sections in our sanctuary for families as you wish. And Connection Cafe follows our service virtually via Zoom at 11:30. Please see your This Week at UUCM, which is on the back of your order of service, for other important information. And I'd like to welcome Giancarlo Panicello. He's going to come forward today as a member of our Board of Trustees for a very special announcement regarding holiday staff bonuses. Thank you so much, Giancarlo. Oh, gee, I didn't write anything for you.
That's okay. Thank you, Rev Anya. My name is Giancarlo. I go by he, him pronouns, and today so we are doing a collection to give staff bonuses for this year, holiday bonuses. It has been a very difficult year for us all, and the staff at UUCM is no exception. They've kept us afloat throughout a difficult year, sometimes with no heat, and through this COVID-19 pandemic, and they ensure that we have a space to come to every week. Rev Scott has given us an idea in the past few weeks of how much it takes to run this place, and it is truly appreciated. Whatever you are able to give to staff bonuses, it is very much appreciated, and we can show our gratitude for them. There is a basket in the narthex on the desk where you can donate cash, or you could donate, and you could donate online via a Realm announcement. There's a Realm email.
And folks can find it if they receive the announcement for today's service, and they're this week at UUCM. There's information on how to give there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Giancarlo. Rev Scott, let's light that chalice. Ours is a covenantal community, and we share a common covenant, a commitment to come together in service to the beloved community. Let's light our chalice as our chalice lighting affirmation is shared. And if you'd like to speak this with us, it'll be found in your order of service. Let us open our senses to take in the beauty. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. And let us open our hearts to love one another. Our invocation for today is titled "The Breath of Life is Not Mine Alone" by the Reverend Kristen L. Harper. In a time when breathing can itself feel dangerous, right? We offer this as an invitation to remember the beauty and necessity of our connections. I do not wish to breathe another breath if it is not shared with others. The breath of life is not mine alone.
I brought myself to be with you, hoping that by inhaling the compassion, the courage, the hope I found here, I can exhale the fear, the selfishness, the separateness I keep so close to my skin.
I cannot live another moment, at least not one of joy, unless you and I find our oneness somewhere among each other, somewhere between the noise, somewhere within the silence of the next breath.
Somewhere between the noise, somewhere among each other.
We're called to find depth in our days and discover reverence in this hour. So we seek a gentle meditation, a deep reflection, a focused prayer, each as we are called and yet all together. And we enter into this space by hearing the lamentations, the requests, and the remembrances of our community. Let us hear one another to heal one another. We light this candle for Dawn Harmon. Dawn had a major blow recently as she was diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma. We pray for Dawn's strength as she navigates a path toward healing. We light this candle for Will Hilton, Michael Hetrick, and Devaney Curdy, and all the others who have been ill with COVID-19. Please hold each in your prayers for healing. May you all be up again soon and able to engage in all the ways that you are called. We light this candle for Alan Sanders to commemorate the birth of his dad, Ben, who was born on Christmas Day 125 years ago. Alan shares, "He was a loving dad whom I remember, miss, and appreciate every day." Charles and Melinda Loflin light this candle for their sister-in-law, Sarah, who has received a challenging health diagnosis. May she and the Loflins be held in love. Amanda lights this candle of healing for Olivia. Olivia is 2 and was recently diagnosed with a brain tumor. Amanda asks for prayers of strength for her family and for her recovery. Judith Rue lights this candle for her daughter Emma Rue Simon, who just gave birth to Juana May Simon. Mom and baby are doing great. Congratulations, Emma Rue and Juana May. Dion Ford lights this candle of celebration for her father, who turned 87 on Christmas Eve. And let's light a final candle for the joys and sorrows that are deeply felt but have not been spoken aloud. May we hold this silence as we breathe together, as this silence holds us. Join me in silence. Testing, testing. I'd like to pause to recognize our tech team who's here with us today. We have Wallace and we have Debbie Ann, who are also here with us on Christmas Eve. A long night and doing such incredible work. Did you start sweating up there? Yeah. Doing such incredible work, keeping us going. Will you join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation as you are moved? God of our understanding, source of life and love that we breathe in and we breathe out. Presence of life that finds us when we struggle, that rises within us when we rise. We begin with gratitude that we have made it to this morning, through the holiday, whatever that means for us, through these times of challenge, that we have made it to this day where the bright sun shines upon us. Gratitude, may gratitude fill our heart for this gift that is the greatest of all gifts, life, life itself. And we deepen in our prayer and our meditation with the awareness that this season can be an incredible challenge for so many. It is in these times of tenderness, with our own hearts raw from all that is moving in our days, that we feel the grief that may be with us all days, but that we feel the grief so much more tenderly. The grief that we carry, and in these days we all carry grief because we have been moving through a time of trauma and challenge together. May we be held by that source of life and love that is with us. May it find us in our grief and our moments of deliverance. May it rise with us when we rise. May we feel through the challenge, the sun shining upon our faces. And may we, if we have the strength to give, reach out to those who are in need, because they are many among us. They may be us, they may be our neighbor. Reach out to those in need and feel those connections, that unity that we so need, especially now. God of our understanding, source of life and love, be the guide that sustains us, that helps us keep moving through our days, so that we may move from challenge to joy, so that we may move from grief to gladness. Amen. Our prayer response, Gaudiamus Odie.
Gaudiamus Odie. Let us rejoice. I know I was rejoicing when I figured out that it was the uninterrupted power supply that had failed and not a circuit somewhere in the building I didn't know where the breaker was a few minutes ago. These things happen, and in the spirit of today's service, I just kept breathing, and thank goodness the tech team was breathing with me, and we figured it out. This is the offering for today's service. I'm just going to say a word that someone asked me to clarify. We heard at the board meeting this week. The boiler that died was about 25 years old. It was really not a commercially rated boiler, and its replacement was the final bill is $41,800. Now we have money to pay for that out of a capital fund, so it will not impact the operating budget for this year. So even with that big expense, this congregation has been generous and forward-looking for long enough that we had funds set aside for just such an emergency. So if you're interested and inspired to help us financially, the best thing you can do, besides putting money in the plate, the best thing you really can do is to pledge generously and encourage everyone else to do so as well. So with all that, let us begin today's offering. 80% of what you offer cares for this place, and 20% supports our December and January recipient Forte House. Forcing out recidivism through education, or Forte House, provides a healthy and transparent living environment for formerly incarcerated students transitioning through post-secondary education. Providing affordable housing and stability in the world of academia upon reentry from prison is paramount to the realization of Forte House's mission. More information can be found at njfortehouse.org. You can text UUCM plate and your amount to 73256. If you'd like to give that way, you can mail us a check with Forte House in the memo, or simply place your gift in the offering basket. So ushers, please come forward. All of your gifts are worthy, and we receive them with love.
So today's service is inspired by the first principle of Kwanzaa. This is the season of Kwanzaa. The first day of Kwanzaa begins today. And the first principle, umoja, is unity. And today's service is inspired by that. Our reading comes from Ephesians 4, 1 through 6. I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling that you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One faith, one worship, one God of all, who is over all and through all and in all. I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling that you have received.
Thank you, Michael. I remember you saying something to me before we started today about why you chose that piece. Would you like to share it?
Well, when Rev Anya mentioned that you were talking about breath today, and so much of what we sung about today was about breathing, this is the piece that really taught me first how to breathe along with a piece of music that's a living being, that this collective feel, even in listening to music, that piece really ebbs and flows. Focuses on breath.
Nice. Thanks. Thanks. So, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace, the Apostle Paul wrote. And our colleague Kristen Harper wrote, "The breath of life is not mine alone." So let us consider the notion of breathing by looking at the origin of words. The origins of words often can show us where our confusion might begin. An ancient word for breath in Hebrew is ruach, spelled in English R-U-A-C-H, ruach. And ruach, it can mean breath, it can mean spirit, and it can mean throat. This simple etymology offers so much insight. Judaism is a very embodied religion, very much of this earth. Indeed, there was little talk in Judaism of an afterlife until those lands where Judaism thrived were conquered by the Greeks, and those ideas made their way into Jewish thought. But the ancient Judaic ideas didn't separate body, mind, and spirit. And this one word embodies this. It embodies breath, that which we need for life. It hails the part of our body through which our breath enters us, the throat. And this simple biological miracle, breathing in to give us life through our throats, came to mean spirit. And it's all held in that one word, ruach. And despite Enlightenment notions to the contrary, we cannot and perhaps should not separate body, mind, and spirit. They are one, and all deserve our care and praise, because without one, the others do not exist. The body is the conduit and the container of the spirit, which is something that acts like a physical substance, oxygen, perhaps. There is one body, one spirit. The breath of life is not mine alone. And this etymology, it carries into English as well. The word inspire, to fill with creative impulse, was the common meaning. It comes from the Latin word spirare, which means to take in breath. It also means to be filled with spirit. Spirit and breath are akin, if not synonymous, in some mystical way. The word expire means to no longer take in breath, to die, to have the spirit leave us. The word aspire, to dream, means to give breath to encourage the spirit. Even our word perspire, you know I'd go there, to sweat. It shares the same origin, through breath. We sweat when we breathe rapidly, when we put a lot of spirit into something. Any notion separating breath, spirit, and body are faulty modernist notions based on Enlightenment fallacies that divide our humanity. Our breath is our spirit, is our body. They conspire to fill us with vitality. Our reading today was from St. Paul's letter to the people of Ephesus. That's on the western coast of Turkey. And like most of Paul's letters, Ephesians was written to early Christian communities. And in these letters, Paul is basically giving advice on people of how to get along, how to preserve their spirit of community. They provide, in effect, conflict resolution through the postal service. And he writes, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. In other words, take a deep breath and remember the higher purpose for which we're gathering in the first place. Don't let the little stuff irritate you so much that you forget how to love. You know, sometimes things disrupt our attention. They make us forget what's important. And the pandemic certainly has been such a disruption. It's disrupted so many things, including our very breathing, right? Our very breathing. Made us weary, if not afraid, to breathe in the presence of others without protection. But the pandemic also has provided opportunities. An opportunity to take a breath, to assess all we are doing, all we think we are, and maybe how we do it. To reevaluate how we live out our mission. Maybe to renew the mission itself. Indeed, I would say that we should feel foolish if years from now we look back at this pandemic time and we did not take an opportunity to do such examination, to really rethink who we are, what we do, how we should behave. This pandemic, this COVID, the deadliest event in American history, if we're not changed by this, then who and what are we? Let us stop expecting things to be different. Let us stop expecting things to rush back to normal, whatever that is. Indeed, how great was our world in March 2020 when the world had to press the pause button. We have become more acquainted than we ever feared with communal loss. How will we incorporate sorrow's teaching into how we live, pray, love, mourn, celebrate? Let us breathe in. Keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace, and speak new and seek new inspiration. Often what gets in the way of finding space to breathe is a genuine concern for the state of our country. Sometimes it's the conditions and the inequity of our communities. Perhaps the fate of the planet itself. We get worried. It's tough to breathe when you're anxious. And while there is cause for concern, much justice to midwife, much transformation to enable, there is also so much beauty that awaits our gaze. So much love awaiting our embrace. So let us pause to breathe, to inspire, to be filled with Spirit. I sometimes marvel at how easily we forget our unity. How often we accept stories told us about ourselves or about our perceived foes. Stories amplified by big tech companies and media empires whose only purpose is to keep us tuned in, adversarial, and purchasing whatever products and services they make money from. These isolated interactions through mediated platforms, they encourage, reward, and profit from fear and division. when we are not physically in the same room with one another, breathing the same air, sharing the same spirit, we respond more quickly to vitriol and conspiracies about one another than when we are face to face. Breath and spirit unite us, no matter what aisles may lie between us. And I'm not speaking here of the conspiratorial fearmongers or the insurrectionists, but to those who know not how to conquer the fear they feel, genuine fear at how rapidly our world is changing, whether due to demographics, the fear of economic collapse, rising crime, or a culture that relishes silencing people who haven't quite learned how to say the right word in the right way at the right time on the right platform. So how do we breathe, pause, and reflect before reacting to these folks? Shame and accusation teaches nothing to anyone. It doesn't change people's hearts. We can create enough space to breathe so we can explore the root causes of our misunderstandings and even our discord together. African-American interfaith leader Reverend Howard Thurman writes this gentle prayer about just this issue. Speaking here about those with whom we were once close and may now be estranged, Thurman writes, "The concern which I lay bare before you today is, whatever disaffection lies between me and those who are or who have been very close to me, I would seek the root or cause of this disaffection, and with the illumination of your mind, O God, to understand it. I give myself to your scrutiny that whatever there may be in me that is responsible for what has happened, I will acknowledge. Where I have wronged or given offense deliberately or without intention, I seek a face-to-face forgiveness. What I can undo, I am willing to try. What I cannot undo, with that, I seek to make peace with me and with you." How to do these things? What techniques to use with what spirit? For these I need and seek your wisdom and strength, O Holy One. Whatever disaffection there is between me and those who are or have been very close to me, I lay bare before you. The words of the prophet Howard Thurman. Wonder how much easier it might be for us all to breathe as a culture if we could approach one another with this kind of humility. Now, I do understand not all seem to be reachable with kindness, but we have to try. I do know that there are forces of destruction and evil afoot that are unapproachable, movements which must be vanquished, sidelined, or avoided. But for most, this is not the case. So how do we tune out the nonsense? Pay attention to the true and to the most real, and not feed the beasts of technological tribalism. How do we shut down self-righteous echo chambers, silence the alarmist reveille of concocted Armageddon, and breathe and relate on a more sane, humbler, human level? For a religious movement that does not embrace hell or end of the world thinking, I certainly hear quite a bit of doomsday declarations among some Unitarian Universalists. This does not help. It only makes folks run away or give up. Instead, let's breathe. Give them the space to do so as well. When the world fills us with trepidation, let us call a time out. A pause amid the tumult. An eye in the storm where we can refresh our spirits by inspiring, by breathing deeply, gently, gaining a fresher, more proportional perspective. Humanity is served by cultivating a wise heart, a compassionate mind. So let us discover ways to feel deeper, but with greater intention. Buttress yourself against those tribalist storms seeking to engulf you. Do not set your hearts to be ships adrift at sea, merely to be tempest-tossed by any wave that roars by. Open your heart to what most deserves the wisdom of your love's fullness, and give first and last to that which is truly worthy of your most sincere devotion. This is a way of transformation, of salvation, heading towards a revolution of truth, righteousness, and compassion. This is a way to breathe deeply for longer, so the spirit within you can be nourished and made more whole. The breath of life is not mine alone. So may it be. Will you reflect with me this morning? Amid all the cacophony and chaos of life, how will you find the space to breathe?
Closing hymn is number 1001, Breaths.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the water. when the fire's voice is heard, 'tis the ancestors' bread in the voice of the waters. Zah, zah, zah.
The breath of life is not mine alone. To breathe is literally to refresh the spirit as we replenish the body. I pray that we all can, by inhaling the compassion, courage, and hope found here, that we can exhale the fear, selfishness, and separateness so many keep too close to their skin. I pray we find the space to breathe in, breathe out, to inspire, aspire, and even perspire as we nurture our spirits. I pray that we remember that our body, mind, and spirit are divinely connected, and we reject the attempts to divide them, as the division of ourselves is the seed of the divisions among all people. And I pray this unity becomes manifest to us as our awareness of the unity of our own being moves us to unite more closely with the holy and with others of the human family. Amen. And let us extinguish our chalice.
Our worship has ended. Let our service begin. Go in peace. Go in joy. Go in love.
And let's end in celebration for Michael, for Charles, for Laurice, for Wallace, for Debbie Ann, and for our astounding greeter team in the back. Thank you for being here on this morning.